we create products that we want to invest in. Funds don't benefit the manager, they actually benefit the investor.
How important is diversification, liquidity, and getting out of debt when you only have to get rich once?
So your question, how important is diversification and liquidity?
Yes.
Is that your question? So first of all, we operate in a fund structure, and that is one of the reasons why we operate in a fund structure, for exactly what you're talking about. Because in a fund structure, you have a basket of properties that all work together. And there's actually a big advantage. I don't know how much I want to get into the weeds about this, but we create products that we want to invest in. Funds don't benefit the manager, they actually benefit the investor, because our performance fees are cross-collateralized around 10, 12, 15 deals in a fund. And so when we think about risk management, you have each and every deal in the fund that is in its own special purpose entity, and then all of those roll up into a holding company, which is called the fund. So if you have a problem with an asset, and invariably there will be, you can always take cash flow from the fund, from another asset, and rescue that. When you're doing individual deals and you're syndicating, the challenge with that is suddenly if a deal needs $2 million or $3 million in capital improvements or rescue capital, or the bank calls their loan, or something bad happens in the market, well, the only place to go for that is your investor group, and you have to call capital or put more capital in or lend, and find a way. And so there's huge structural advantages to a fund. And let me, you made a comment about today's market and what we're doing sort of on a risk management, and I'll take you back to COVID, because in one of our funds, Income Plus, for example, we have 3 distinct strategies in there. We have a preferred equity strategy, we have sort of a core plus value added strategy, and we have a ground up development strategy that's 20% of that fund. So all baked into one single fund, and it's really an income oriented fund for a moderate, risk investor. But in that fund during the pandemic, what we did is we tilted the fund heavily towards preferred equity, because it was impossible to price anything in that market. We had no idea what was in store over the next few months. We saw interest rates going down. We knew that bode, well for the apartment industry. But at the same time, you had no idea what was going to happen if all these millennials were going to move back home and lose their jobs. So that was a moment in time that we went from having 25% of preferred equity in the portfolio to shifting everything to 60% preferred equity. And on the other side, the ground up development to me in this market is such a better strategy than even the core plus or value add, because there's a ton of capital chasing core plus and value add and squeezing those margins out. But the development margins are still so high that if you believe interest rates are going up or cap rates are going up, you can guard against those through your return on cost or by developing to a higher cap rate in the future. So ours has really been a barbell approach. And I agree with you that it's been really, really challenging for us to get our hands on existing value add projects, because we're going on 10, 12 years. So right now we're sort of, lending and then doing ground up development. And that's where we see the greatest risk adjusted returns in this market.
Excellent.